It's Aaron the Metal Theologian. And I think I only listened to one side of this, so I'm going to flip it. Yeah. It's a Muslim Gauze record I've been listening to. It's weird. I've been in this weird fucking place with music. I mean, I've been listening to a lot of, like, different shit anyway, which is kind of, uncharacteristic. But there are, like, two bands that I've been completely obsessed with, and I'll get to that in a minute. But, yeah, I actually don't have a shitload to say today, so I'm going to sort of talk about Soda a little bit and drag the shit out, you know, get a video up there, because what the hell, you know? I like to think you don't have to like any of the fucking records, still get a kick out of the videos, so hopefully it'll work out that way, but... Yes, this is Muslim Gauze, and, you know, I've kind of been reaching for some of the shit that's, less easily classified, just because I really know what I've been in the mood for in some ways, you know what I'm saying? It's like, when I get into metal, it's like really clear. When I get into jazz, it's really clear. And even like old hard rock and shit like that, or reggae, but sometimes, you know, I end up in this space where I'm not really sure what I want to listen to. So that tends to be when I reach for shit like this. I reached for some Sons of Arca, too, and that, like, didn't do it for me at all. I listened to, Kokomorochi earlier today, and, you know, and I really like that record. You know, that's actually the first one that I really got into by them, like, way back when I first discovered that band, like, in the early 90s or something like that. But, yeah, so anyway, I'm digging this one. I just listened to Hodge before, too, and that one really did it for me, too. So, you know, I mean, the themes on these records, it's funny, they kind of, like, you know, they would have been pretty intimidating back in the 80s, you know, like a cover like that and shit. If you're old enough to remember, then you know, but if you're a Zoomer, that's probably just nothing, you know? But yeah, I don't know, man. For me, this shit vibes out a lot like Soviet France. But it's like, it's an easier listen, you know what I mean? It's kind of hard to articulate. I mean, I really like Soviet France, but that kind of shit, I really have to read the right headspace for. And shit, man, if I'm listening to this, maybe I am right now. But I don't know, I just feel like this has a little bit more sort of, it's a really weird analogy, because I wouldn't call the Soviet France records dry, but this feels a little bit more sort of dank in the sense of, like, moist, in the sense of, like, sort of, I don't know if organic is the right word, but sort of fleshy, you know? So I don't know, man, maybe I'm just making up bullshit here. I mean, that's definitely not outside of the question. So, speaking of bullshit, I am busting out this, another one of these Georgia root beers. I talked about a cream soda not too long. I think it was a pecan cream soda, but I don't even remember now. But this is just straight up root beer from Bishop, Georgia. I don't know how far from Georgia you can get these. But, yeah, I came across these and figured it was worth bringing back a little soda speak for it, so. It's funny, it makes me feel old when I think about how I, like, stole that bit from Grown Man Record Night. And then, like, retired it, and, like, that whole sort of arc came and went, and, like, this shit's still going on, but whatever. So speaking of shit that's dry, as root beers go, this is pretty dry. It is not like, I mean, a lot of root beers just sort of like assail your mouth with sweetness and like with sort of, you know, that caramely sort of mouth feel, like even if it isn't like cloyingly sweet, which it sometimes is, and I don't mind that at all. But, yeah, this one is, it has a little bit more bite than I might expect otherwise, and I almost want to say that it's like a club soda, like that with a root beer flavor in it, but that makes it sound a lot shittier than it actually is. I'd be lying if I said this is my favorite root beer ever, but it's pretty tasty, you know what I mean? They did a nice job crafting the thing, you know, and, you know, credit where it's due, that's good stuff. I mean, at the end of the day, do I really like this more than a Barks? Not sure, honestly. What can I say? I just love my sugar. I've assimilated in the South, you know. Because before I moved here, I didn't really realize how southern a thing soda even is to begin with. Like, just the idea of like taking water and putting a fuckload of sugar in it is like a really southern thing to do. In fact, I don't know if this is I can't like swear to this, but I heard that like part of why sweet tea sort of became a thing in the South was because it was originally associated with basically having money, because at the time like tea was expensive and sugar was expensive and ice was expensive, you know, like 100 years ago. So you bring those things together and make sweet tea out of it, you know, you're fucking doing pretty well. So of course then everyone gets into it because everyone aspires to that. Now it's just a thing. And if you're sitting in like Michigan or whatever and like you're thinking of like iced tea with sugar in it, you don't know what sweet tea is. So and it's not insulting your character or anything. It's just, you know, it's its own thing. It is sweetened iced tea, but it's its own thing, man. You just sort of have to have it to know. And like, if you're from the South, you know. And if you've been here and you're from the North, you probably know too. But you might well hate it. That's just the way it goes. So, all right. So I mentioned Grown Man Record Night, man. There are two bands that I've been fucking obsessed with that I pretty much got turned on to by Mr. Bananas. And one is Ohm. And this is like the only one that I've been able to find so far. I'll let a couple more coming in the mail. And I just fucking love it, man. I've been playing this like every day, but it's like I can't play this record while it's light out. I have to wait till it's dark. That's like the rules around the house. There are a couple records that I have to play at night, and anything Ohm is one of them. In fact, I don't think I've played this even once when the sun was up. So I bought this like maybe 3 weeks ago, something like that. And you know, like I said, I've been playing it a lot, but only when it gets dark. I just love this shit, man. I think I kind of talked about this a little bit before, but I don't really think of myself as being into the whole, like, drone or stoner thing or anything like that. In fact, I busted out a couple other things, like, you know, I was like, oh, maybe, I've kind of had this record forever, and I was like, oh, you know, maybe I'll finally sort of really dig this Electric Wizard record, the only one that, I don't know, I found this cheap somewhere along the line, you know. And, you know, it's good. It's as good as I remember Electric Wizard being, but it's not the same thing as this Ohm shit, you know. It's just on a different level, you know. So yeah, and like all that sort of like, you know, chanting and shit like that that's in here, I can totally hang with that shit too, man. It's like if you describe that to me, I go, oh, that's fucking pretentious bullshit. But when it's actually done, man, like in here or in like Sons of Arca records or even like fucking John Coltrane records, man, it's always, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there's a ton of shit out there that's terrible that has that sort of thing, but you know, like that whole like Gregorian chant trend from like the early 90s. Some of you probably remember when that like chant CD came out with like the monks and shit, and that was kind of the hip thing for a while. And I always thought that shit was kind of lame, you know. And I can't really say I like it a whole lot more now. I mean, there's a reason that like, you know, polyphony became a thing, you know. But yeah, but I dig the hell out of this Ohm record. Here's another one that I only play at night, by the way. Another one I've been playing a lot, too, by the way. Boards of Canada. This is still the only one I have, but I fucking love this record, man. Music has the right to children, whatever the fuck that means. There are actually 2 copies of this in the house, too, because I got one for my kid who's into, like, dance music and shit. But I was like, he was like, oh, this is kind of good, but it's not great. I was like, well, fuck you, I'm going to get my own copy, because I want to listen to it all the time. And I do. I think it's growing on him, too, a little bit, but that's another story. Actually, so speaking of, this is my boy Coltrane, my younger one, okay? There's like some dad shit, so you just have to like indulge me for a minute here, but this is pretty funny. So, you know, it's Thanksgiving week, assuming you're not Canadian, because in Canada they do it at some other weird fucked up time, like I think in October maybe, like fucking, like someone got confused about Halloween and Thanksgiving up there, and so like, I don't know, maybe some fucking Canadian like dressed up as a turkey, and they like started like fucking eating and shit, and went, oh fuck, you know? I'm just fucking around. But, oh yeah, so anyway, so Spencer, you know, because of the whole COVID thing and shit, he's not coming home from school. He's just staying until winter break, in New York where he is. So I was like, fuck, you know. So since he can't really go out or have people hear anything, it's just going to be the 3 of us. Just like, oh, what the fuck, what are we going to do? So my wife asked Coltrane, it's like, hey, so what do you want to have? Do you want to have anything special, like for Thanksgiving or anything? You know, because, you know, there's no tradition or anything this year. We're just sort of hanging out, you know. So Coltrane goes, yeah, French toast. So that's fine with me, because I don't feel like making a fucking turkey anyway, right? You know, if I'll fry a bunch of bacon and make some French toast to go with it. But it just seems like a funny thing for Thanksgiving. But his reasoning was, well, yeah, we haven't had it in a while. The way Daddy makes it, it's pretty good. It's really good. So, and the way I make it too, it'll fill your ass up. So like we have that and some bacon, and we're not gonna want any fucking turkey or anything like that. Especially because by the time I get off my ass and cook, we'll be eating at like 3 anyway. So it's perfectly respectable Thanksgiving dinner as far as I'm concerned. But, yeah, funny little thing there. So. And I like the fact that Coltrane thinks for himself that way, too. Because I'll tell you, I don't know if there's ever a time in my life when I would have said that. Alright, so here's the other Bananas record, man. Fucking big business. It's really a completely different sort of thing. And it's funny, because, I, read a little bit of shit about these guys. I never heard of these guys before, last week. And, Bananas said something about him. Even in the chat, I don't think he mentioned it on the show, although I dozed off, so I might have missed it if it came up at the end. But, yeah, so I looked him up, and I remember having seen this one at my local shop, so I went there, actually traded in some CDs and brought this home, and fuck, dude, this is so good, man. And this is, current shit, too, man. This is even newer than that. Well, I don't know if it's newer than that Ohm record. I think this is, 2007, but it's another band that's, 2 guys, and, it's noisy, it's metallic, but I really wouldn't call it metal. I think the singer's awesome, man. He just kind of, yells. You know what he's like, and then one of the things I think ruined a lot of 90s music for me is, there was this irony that crept into it, you know what I mean? And irony is the worst thing that ever happened in music. I think it killed so many 90s bands. That whole phenomenon where there were, all these bands with one-syllable names, I feel like that was a symptom of it. You know what I'm talking about. Look at those fucking early 90s bands. There were a ton of bands with one-syllable names. That was such a fucking ridiculous trend, And one thing I gotta give the boomers credit for is they're really good at not, falling down that, rabbit hole, you know what I mean? The boomers, if anything, they sounded too sincere on those 70s records, and props to them for it, man. That's one reason why I still love so many of those records. Anyway, this singer on the Big Business record has a similar tone to, that sort of, that kind of ironic singing style that you hear a lot in the 90s. But he doesn't sound like it's ironic. It sounds really sincere, even though the color of it and sort of the delivery has that kind of vibe to it, if that makes sense. So I just dig that a lot, man. This isn't really drony shit, but it still kind of comes across as a wall of sound, at least to my ears. And I've just been loving it, man. So yeah, I got some more shit from them coming in the mail too. I've just been freaking out, man. Those 2 records, that one and the Ohm record, I've been playing every day on the boards of Canada often. So I've been pulling out some other shit, like this Flying Saucer Attack record I pulled out again. I got this, when I was just checking some shit out a while back. And, I don't know, I like this record. It doesn't quite scratch the itch, but, it gets close, you know what I mean? It's sort of like if you have the itch and, you rub it with your fingers instead of using your nails. It almost does it, but it doesn't quite there. But it's a really cool record in its own right. This actually is kind of drony, I suppose. I mean, this is sort of like a whole record of, Sister Ray in a way, I mean, it doesn't sound like Sister Ray, but they were obviously listening to Sister Ray. And they're right, too. I mean, I've listened to Sister Ray a ton of times, too, right? So, yeah. And I love that cover, too. They get a lot of credit for that in my book. Yeah, and it might even sound like I'm shitting on these guys. I don't intend to shit on these guys at all. They're not my favorite band ever. They're really good. It's just not exactly what I've been in the mood for. Oh, real quick, just to close the loop. This thing did finally come in the mail. So, yeah, it's a great record. Modern Harmonic did a really nice job. No seam splits. But I'm still not going to have a pre-order from those fuckers again, because fuck that shit. Okay, that was just a little aside, though. Alright, so here are a few where I got to give people credit, okay? So, first of all, Marty Worm, because he sent me this thing, and boy, do I appreciate it, man. This is the fucking Glorious Dead record, which is actually his band, too. This is just so fucking good, man. I mean, it's death metal, but it just hits the spot, man. I don't know what to say, you know what I mean? It, doesn't sound too self-conscious. It doesn't sound like it's up itself. It sort of plays by the rules of death metal without being, without, doing a Cannibal Corpse or something like that, where it's okay, that's purely what this is, you know what I mean? And it's really just kind of like color by numbers death metal, you know what I mean? This thing really sort of has its own personality too, in a way that I just really dig. And that cover's awesome too, by the way. So yeah, if you don't know the Glorious Dead, man, 2 thumbs up to this motherfucker, and I would strongly encourage you to check this shit out. And by the way, if you watch Marty's videos and he talks about black metal more than you like, don't let that deter you, because I'll tell you, this doesn't have any of that shit. This is like, you know, to the degree that this is not death metal, it's like thrash. It has like that kind of an influence. It doesn't go the black metal route that kind of, you know, annoys a lot of us these days. So. Alright, so Marty, 2 thumbs up for that. I have to salute... Alright, well, I was going to save this one for last, but I'll just go for it now. So, when I was really into, like, hip-hop a couple of years ago, when I went on that big kick, there were a few things that I kind of got, like, sort of late in the phase, and I was really aware, even at the time, of the fact that I had been, like, really deep into this shit, but, like, I was kind of starting to burn out on it a little bit, and so there were some records that I was liking, but weren't, like, you know, crushing me. And there are 2 specific ones that Mr. Harmless Rebel turned me on to. Steve. And one of them is this band, man. Gravediggers. Yeah, 6 Feet Under. And Jesus Christ, this record is good. I mean, first of all, it appeals to me because it's all about, like, murder and shit like that, you know? I mean, like, it kind of... yeah, I don't know, man. It's just fucking violent. I've heard this kind of shit referred to as horrorcore. I kind of hate that term because I don't even know what kind of core this is supposed to be. But, you know, it's like, forget about the gangsters and, like, whatever other shit, you know, like the conscious shit, forget about that. This is just, like, straight up fucking murder and blood and shit, you know? So, you know, being a metal guy, that's, you know, I'm down with that shit. But this record's fucking fantastic, man. Start to finish, it's great. And the other one is, actually a lot smarter than that one, I suppose, but just as sincere and just as good, and that's the Smith & Wesson record. So, I mean, I kind of expected this was going to be good because the guys are from Black Moon, and I fucking love that Black Moon record. You know, that's one of my favorite hip-hop records as far as what I know, but I finally, well, like I said, Steve recommended this one too. When I came around, I grabbed it, but I don't think I even cracked the shrink on it for several months, and then, you know, it didn't really do much for me because I wasn't in the right headspace. So I just pulled this out again, being in the right headspace, without realizing it, just like looking for other shit, right? I went, holy fuck, what a great record. So yeah, man, Smith & Wesson. Yeah. The Shining, it's called, I guess. Yeah, so good, man. Right on. And hats off to Steve for suggesting that shit. So, let's see. Yeah, I thought I had one more, but this is probably it. So there's one more that I found that actually just came in the mail either yesterday or today. But this is Scott Waters, our very own, put this out. Oh, there we go. I talk about Scott every video, right? So, yeah, this is the Madrost record, and I'll be honest, I was a little put off by the name, but on the other hand, you know, Scott generally has good taste. If he didn't love this record, he wouldn't have put this out, you know what I mean? So it's like, okay, so I gave it a shot, and, well, I found that it sounds a lot more, there are a lot more sort of death metal growls on it if you play it at 33, because it's actually supposed to be played at 45. So I felt like a little bit of a dumbass, you know, sitting there wondering if they were tuning down to like a B or something like that. I should throw it on for a minute, because why the hell not? Probably won't even get a fucking ad put on the video with it, hopefully. So anyway, you play this record at 33 and it's good. But you play it at 45 like it's supposed to be played, and it's really fucking fantastic, man. So we're going to fire this shit up for a minute. And yeah, and I'll tell you, I've been like not spending a whole shit ton of money on records lately, and I was a little on the fence, but I was like, yeah, you know something though, I really want to support ska, so I'm going to get this record. Let me tell you, I'm really glad I did. Because this is just first-rate shit. And another thing that I really dig about this, man, this is a small thing, But I mean, it's 45, right? There's 6 songs on this record, and that's all you need, man. You don't need to fucking. I mean, one thing about these hip hop records, right? There's a lot of these are doubles, you know, because it was CD era, you know. So fucking, you just get an ordinary record like this Gangstar, and which is great, by the way, which is why it's sitting here. I love this fucking record, but it's super long because everything was just, you know, they had to fill 70 or 80 minutes because that was a thing. I don't know, man. I think that was really unhealthy for a lot of bands, but and you know, I've talked 100,000 times about how a lot of my favorite records are EPs. You know, I almost felt like I was cheating when I had that Best of 84 list because there are even a couple 12 inches in there, man. But when that's all you need, then that's all you need, you know? I mean, how long is Rain in Blood? You know? It's not 80 minutes. So yeah, I'll need to show this again because this is a really good record. And I don't know how many of these they pressed up, but it's not a whole lot. I mean, it's not more than a couple hundred, so don't stick around for too long if you want to check this out. At least listen to them online. I'm pretty sure it's on CD, too. But yeah, man, fucking Madrost. I think they have a couple other records prior to this one, too. This is really my first exposure to them, but Charring the Rotting Earth, man, 2 thumbs up. It's really fucking good. And the packaging's beautiful, by the way. Yeah, there's an insert and shit. Y'all can buy it and see that shit yourself. Those bass drums, just the sound on that is so good. And the riff is like weird, but it's not so weird that you just can't relate to it. You know what I mean? Like, this sucked me in right away. It wasn't like, you know, even like a Voivod where I had to listen to it a few times to sort of get my head around the way the writing, you know what I mean? Alright, so what else do we have here? I mean, I think I'm probably about done. I'm kind of just stalling now because I want to let that go for a couple minutes. Fuck it, I'll just show a couple more records then. Here's a couple others that I've been playing recently. So good, man. This is becoming one of my favorite Killing Joke records. I've always liked this one. Although I kind of ignored it when it first came out because they just put out Brighter Than 1,000 Suns, and then that other one, Outside the Gate, then that stupid-ass talking record is just like, I don't know, Jazz Coleman talking about the Illuminati or some bullshit. I don't even know what the fuck that was. I think I had it. I know I had it, but I don't think I ever played it. But yeah, this is the tour I saw them on, because I came to town and I wasn't going to miss Killing Joke, you know, and they fucking blew my mind, man. And so I give the record another chance. I didn't actually get it on record until a lot more recently, but, I mean, this sounds like the first 2 Killing Joke records. I really like the 3rd and the 4th by Night. I think it was called Nighttime. The one with Love Like Blood on it. I mean, that one isn't as shitty as Brighter Than 1,000 Suns, but it's not great. You know what I mean? That's really kind of wimpy for my taste too. This is more like in line with the first couple. Like, it's really heavy. It's probably heavier than the first one, really. And even though it's a double, it isn't really too long either. So yeah. Probably, I don't know. I was going to say my 3rd favorite Killing Joke. I don't know if that's really right. So here's another one, man, given this variety. You wouldn't expect to see Metal Theologian showing a Heliocentrics record. But someone at the record store, you know, hit me to this, and I was like, oh, what the fuck, I'll check it out. So it's not super duper my taste. I appreciate the fact that they sound like big Can fans. I don't know though, you know, here's the thing, man, there's nothing not to like about this record, really. It just didn't, there's little something about it that didn't quite cross that threshold, if that makes sense, and I couldn't really articulate what it is, but I like how it's jammy, the songs are kind of cool, they're not like super obvious. I mean, you know, even songs are kind of more jams than songs, you know what I mean? But not jams like an Asherah Temple or something like that, they're more songy than that, you know what I'm saying? But, it's a very interesting record, man, it's cool. And it might just be that I'm listening to it in a vacuum because I don't really know anything about these guys, but, you know, but hats off anyway, it's pretty cool. I think this is going to be the last one that I'll show too. So just going back around to other shit that I pulled out. So I pulled out my copy of Super Judge here. I think this is the music on vinyl version of it. But it's just a really good band, man. I've always really liked Monster Magnet. They've never been like my favorite band, but I've always appreciated it. And I actually used to have a copy of the first one, Spine of God, which I think that's the first one. But I let that thing go in a big purge, and I really kind of wish I had kept it, because it hasn't gotten any easier to find. But I might like this one even more anyway. It's a little hard to call that, but this is a fucking really good record, and this is a really nice pressing of it too if you can come across one. So, alright, well I think that's it. I only shouted out half the fucking VC. Okay, I'm exaggerating, fucking around a little. I know there are tons of people doing this shit, and I don't like shit on anybody inadvertently. Because if I'm going to shit on somebody, it's going to be on purpose. Isn't this fucking good? I can just listen to the drummer, man. Alright, well that's all I've got. So thanks for watching. Appreciate it as always, and I'll see you soon. Or you'll see me soon. Whatever, fuck it.